I'm Connor Boyack with Libertas Institute, here to talk about House Bill 243, which is a first-in-the-country proposal to protect our privacy when it comes to how government is using new technologies and storing data that pertains to our personal information. This would set up a proactive process so that someone could be reviewing these new technologies and how the government is using our data on a proactive basis. A committee comprised of different types of experts would be formed to create these best practices and standards, and then there'd be a privacy officer whose job it would be to go out and do this proactive review, receive tips and complaints from the public, and be able to go and look at all this information to make sure that we're striking a better balance and that the government isn't just going out and getting whatever new technologies and doing whatever they want, and maybe a decade later we find out about it. This would be more proactive and allow for a better protection of our personal rights. A lot of you have heard of the company Banjo that has made headlines in recent years in Utah. That was this company, kind of this AI surveillance company, gathering all this public information and synthesizing it so that law enforcement could better detect and respond to crime. Raised a lot of concerns, especially they were trying to get an appropriation money from the state legislature, and there have been a lot of legislators who've been concerned about how these new technologies can be used and take all that data in ways that empower the government far beyond the power and the ability it's ever had before. What do you do when the government can use AI and start to try and predict crime? There have been whole movies about speculating about the future when this type of thing happens. So this bill, you could say it's kind of in response to Banjo, but for every Banjo, there's going to be 5 companies like it in the future. This is a broader effort to make sure that we strike that better balance between public safety on the one hand and personal privacy on the other, so that whoever the company is trying to do this stuff, we have the appropriate safeguards and guardrails in place. If this bill passes, there's going to be a committee of experts formed who will debate and discuss these issues, can receive information from the public and try and assess what is the right way that the government can use these technologies, if at all. And those recommendations will then inform the legislature about laws that need to pass to codify or put into law those standards and those regulations, so that the government can't just go out and buy whatever new technology it wants. There will be guardrails in place to protect people's rights. There will be more transparent information so that the public can be more informed. When we found out that the government had been using facial recognition on all our driver's license photos, they'd been doing it for a decade, right? And the public didn't know. That's a big problem. And so the outcome of this bill is to have a more proactive review of a lot of these new technologies and how the government is storing our data so that we can respond to it more quickly or nip it in the bud before it becomes a problem. So that's House Bill 243. Click the link in the description below if you'd like to learn more about it, or reach out to your elected officials to encourage them to support the bill.